She can't pay. Somebody call the manager." The words cut through the pharmacy like a blade. And what the woman behind the counter did next, nobody in that line was ready for it. The Shoppers Drug Mart on Eglinton Avenue West was the kind of place that never really slowed down. Tuesday afternoon, the line at the pharmacy counter stretched back past the greeting cards, past the seasonal display of Halloween candy that had gone up far too early. Tired people, impatient people, people with somewhere else to be, the kind of crowd that looks right through you. Amara Ose stood at the counter with a paper bag in her hand. She was 31 years old, medium height, dark skin the color of mahogany, natural hair pinned back with a single clip because she hadn't had time that morning to do anything else. She wore blue scrubs under a gray winter coat, the coat 2 sizes too big, because she'd bought it at Value Village when she first arrived in Toronto 4 winters ago, and she'd never gotten around to replacing it. Her name tag said Amara, pharmacy assistant. She had worked at this location for 2 years, 6 days a week when they needed her, which was almost always. The woman at the counter was named Brielle, late 40s, highlighted hair, a parka that looked like it cost more than Amara's monthly rent. She had placed 3 items on the counter, an allergy medication, a vitamin supplement, and a small of children's cough syrup. She was also on the phone. She had been on the phone since she walked up. She had not stopped talking. "No, I told him that already. Hold on." She looked at Amara with the practiced impatience of someone who considered other people's time less valuable than her own. "Can you just ring it through? I'm in a hurry." Amara smiled. She always smiled. It was not a performance. It was just who she was. "Of course, your total is $38.47. The woman swiped her card. Declined. She tried again. Declined again. Brielle lowered the phone from her ear. "That's impossible. Try it again." Amara ran it a 3rd time. The machine beeped. The same quiet, flat rejection. "Your card isn't going through," Amara said, keeping her voice low, giving the woman the dignity of not being announced to the whole pharmacy. Brielle didn't return the favor. "Well, something is wrong with your machine. This always happens at this location. The equipment here is ancient." She said it loud. She wanted the people in line to hear. She wanted them to understand that the problem was the store, not her. The man behind her in line, a heavy-set guy in a Raptors hoodie with a prescription bag already in his hand, shifted his weight and checked his phone. Brielle dug through her purse. "I have another card somewhere. Give me a second." She kept talking into her phone with her other hand. "Sorry, some issue with—" "Yes, I know. I'll be 10 minutes." She pulled out a second card. Ran it. Declined. "This is absolutely ridiculous. I use this card every single day." The line behind her was now 5 people deep, a young mother with a toddler on her hip, an elderly Jamaican man who'd been leaning on the counter for support, a teenager who looked like he just needed to buy chapstick and deeply regretted coming here today. "Ma'am," the pharmacist, a tall man named Derek, appeared from behind the dispensary glass. "If you'd like, you can step to the side and try calling your bank, and we can help the next person. I am not stepping to the side." Brielle put her hand flat on the counter. "I have been coming to this pharmacy for 6 years. 6 years. She can't pay. Somebody call the manager." The words went through the line like a current. The toddler started fussing. The elderly man looked down at his shoes. The teenager suddenly found something fascinating to look at in the lip balm display. And then Amara reached into her own coat pocket. She pulled out 2 $20 bills. Folded together, worn soft from being carried, she smoothed them on the counter. They were her bus fare and her lunch money for the rest of the week. Payday wasn't until Friday. "I have it," Amara said quietly. She counted out the exact change from a small coin purse she kept in her scrub pocket, $38.47. She laid it on the counter and pushed it toward the register. Derek looked at her. Amara, I have it, she said again, and she smiled at Brielle. You have a good afternoon. The pharmacy went quiet, not the normal quiet of people minding their business. Something else. The kind of quiet that falls when people witness something they didn't expect and don't quite know how to hold. Brielle took her bag. She did not say thank you. She walked out with her phone to her ear. Amara turned back to the counter and called the next customer. Before I tell you what happened next, if you've ever believed that kindness comes back around, subscribe to Urban African Folktales right now. Because what happened to Amara in the days after that Tuesday afternoon will restore everything you have ever doubted about the world. Hit that notification bell. You do not want to miss the rest of this now. Let me tell you who Amara Osei really was, because that $40 was not small money. Not for her. Amara had come to Toronto from Kumasi, Ghana, 7 years ago on a study permit. She had a degree in biochemistry from KNUST, first-class honors, the kind of result that made her father, Kofi Sr., throw a small party in their yard in Adum and invite the neighbors. Her mother, Akosua, had cried the entire day. Happy tears, she kept saying. Happy tears, Amara, stop looking at me like that. The plan had been clear. Come to Canada, do a postgraduate diploma in pharmaceutical sciences, find work, build a life, send money home, eventually bring her parents over, or at least visit every 2 years. The plan met Canada. Her first winter nearly broke her. The cold was nothing like what she had imagined. Not crisp the way people described, but a physical thing, something that got inside your coat and stayed there. Her student apartment in Scarborough had a radiator that worked only when it felt like it. She wore her thickest sweater to bed. She called her mother at odd hours because she kept forgetting the time difference, and Akosua always picked up anyway, always sounded wide awake, always said, "Tell me everything." She finished her diploma, she applied for jobs. She got the pharmacy assistant position, and she took it without hesitation, even though it paid less than she had hoped. Even though her professors had expected more for her. Amara was not proud in the way that makes a person turn down a door that is open. Her father had told her, a river finds its way to the sea. It does not insist on a particular path. She had been saving to upgrade her certification. Pharmacist licensing in Ontario was a long road. Exams, supervised hours, fees that stacked up. She had a spreadsheet on her laptop where she tracked every dollar. She was 2 years into a plan that needed 3 more. She did not touch the spreadsheet on bad weeks because looking at the numbers when things were tight made the ceiling feel lower. Her younger sister, Efua, was 17 and back home Kumkasai. Smart girl. Smarter than Amara had been at that age, which was saying something. Efua wanted to study architecture. Amara sent money home every month. Not a lot, never as much as she wanted, but consistent, like a small river, finding its way. She had one friend in Toronto who had known her before Toronto, a woman named Ola from Lagos, who worked as a personal support worker and made jollof rice better than anyone Amara had ever met. They saw each other on Sunday evenings when their schedules allowed. They talked about home the way people talk about a place they love and miss, and are also slightly running from. It was complicated, the way home always is. Amara had been in one relationship in Toronto. A man named David, Canadian-born, kind enough, but fundamentally confused by the way Amara moved through the world. The phone calls home, the money sent, the way she put everyone else's needs before her own without complaint. He thought it was a phase. It wasn't a phase. It was who she was. They parted without drama, which was its own kind of sadness. At 31, Amara went home to her one-bedroom apartment in York and made groundnut soup on Sunday nights, and studied for her pharmacy licensing exams between shifts and called her mother and told her everything was fine because some things you say out loud and they become a little more true. She was, by anyone's measure, a woman who gave more than she had and asked for very little in return. That Tuesday at the pharmacy counter, the $40 she had laid down was money she genuinely did not have to spare. Now, the woman who had been standing 3 people back in that pharmacy line, the one in the camel blazer, who had been quiet the whole time. Her name was Nana Ya Darko. 53 years old, born in Accra, had lived in Toronto for 26 years. She was the chief operating officer of Darko Wellness Group, a chain of 9 pharmacies and 4 walk-in clinics across the GTA. She was also, and this is important, very good at being invisible when she wanted to be. She had learned that skill over decades of walking into rooms where people underestimated her. She had decided it was more useful than being loud. Nana Ya had come to this particular Shoppers Drug Mart on this particular Tuesday afternoon not for any medical reason. She had been looking, not obviously looking. She had done this 100 times without anyone knowing. Just watching how different stores operated, how staff handled pressure, how people treated each other in small moments when no one appeared to be paying attention. She had watched Amara. She had watched the whole thing, the declined cards, the woman with the highlighted hair and the Raptors fan muttering behind her, the way Amara kept her voice low, the way she smiled even when it wasn't returned. The $40 laid quietly on the counter, no announcement, no performance, no visible hesitation. Nana Ya had seen a lot in her years in this business. She had interviewed hundreds of people. She had promoted some, let go of others, made decisions that kept her up at night, and decisions she could live with easily. But she had a rule she had carried with her, since she was a young woman fresh off a plane at Pearson with 2 suitcases and a cousin's phone number in her coat pocket. Watch how people behave when they think it doesn't count. That is the only reliable information you will ever have about a person. She bought her items, a bottle of vitamin C, nothing urgent, and she left. But at the exit, she turned around. She walked back to the pharmacy counter. The line had moved. Amara was scanning a prescription for the elderly Jamaican man, speaking slowly and clearly, making sure he understood the dosage instructions. Nana Ya waited. When the man left, she stepped up. "I noticed what you did just now," she said. Amara looked at her. "I'm sorry?" For the woman with the allergy medication, the cards that didn't work. Amara's expression didn't change much. She needed her things. It was fine. You paid with your own money. It wasn't a big deal. Nana Ya studied her for a moment. "What's your name?" "Amara. Amara." She said it the way someone says a word they want to remember. "Do you have a card?" "A business card." Amara looked slightly confused. Pharmacy assistants didn't typically carry business cards. "No, I know." Nana Ya opened her purse. She took out one of her own cards and slid it across the counter. "I'm Nana Ya. I'd like to talk to you sometime. Not urgently, whenever you have a day off." Amara picked up the card. "Read it." Her face shifted in a way she couldn't quite control. "Darko Wellness Group, Chief Operating Officer." "I should tell you," Nana Ya said, "that I own part of this shopping center." She let that sit. Then, "Have a good afternoon, Amara." And she left. Derek appeared at Amara's elbow, approximately 4 seconds later. He had been watching from behind the dispensary glass. He looked like a man who had just witnessed something he needed to process. "Was that?" "I think so," Amara said. She put the card in her coat pocket. The same pocket where the $40 had been. She called the next customer. "Let me tell you what happened to Brielle. In the age of phones in every pocket, moments like what happened at that pharmacy counter do not stay private." The teenager who had been there for chapstick, his name was Jordan. He was 16. He had a TikTok account with 400 followers that was mostly skateboarding content, had filmed the last 30 seconds of it. Not maliciously. He just felt, the way teenagers sometimes do, that something worth documenting was happening. The video was 9 seconds long. It showed the two declined beeps. It showed Amara's hand smoothing the bills on the counter. It showed Brielle's back as she walked away without a word. Jordan posted it with no caption, just the sound. By Wednesday morning, it had 40,000 views. By Thursday, it had been picked up by 3 Toronto lifestyle accounts. By Friday, a local news radio station was asking if anyone knew who the pharmacy worker was. The comments were, with a few exceptions, the kind that make you believe people are fundamentally decent when they see decency modeled in front of them. Someone identified the shopping center. Someone identified the pharmacy. Someone, and this is the internet, identified Brielle. Brielle posted an Instagram story on Friday night. She said she was having a terrible day when it happened. She said she was usually a generous person. She said her cards had been compromised, and she was dealing with a lot. The comments were not kind. She deleted the story by morning. On Saturday, her employer, a marketing agency in Midtown, received enough messages that the HR department sent her an email asking to meet Monday morning. Amara knew none of this until Ola texted her a link on Thursday evening with the message, "Is this you?" Amara watched the 9-second video 3 times. She felt strange looking at it. It was strange to be seen doing something private. She had not done it for anyone to see. She texted back, "Yes, but please don't share it," Ola called immediately. Amara, "This has 200,000 views. I know. You're famous." "I'm not famous. I'm a pharmacy assistant." Amara, "Ola, I have to study. I'll call you Sunday." She put the phone down and opened her licensing exam prep materials and sat at her kitchen table with a cup of Milo going cold beside her, and she read until midnight. She had taken out the business card 3 times that week. She had not called. It was Nana Ya who called first. On the following Wednesday morning, Amara's phone rang from an unknown Toronto number. She almost let it go to voicemail. "Amara? This is Nana Ya Darko. We met last Tuesday at Eglinton and Dufferin." "Yes," Amara said. Her heart did something irregular. "I remember. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. Are you working today?" "I start at 2. Do you have time for coffee before your shift? There's a place on Eglinton, just east of where you work. Nothing fancy. Good coffee, though." "The owner is a woman from Accra." Amara was quiet for a beat. "Yes," she said. "I can do that." The cafe was called Mama, a small spot, 12 tables, the smell of cardamom and roasted beans, high life playing quietly from a phone propped on the counter. The owner, a compact woman in her 60s with braids shot through with gray, waved at Nana Ya like she knew her well. Because she did. Nana Ya was already there when Amara arrived, sitting at a corner table with 2 coffees already ordered. She stood when Amara walked in. They shook hands. They sat. "Tell me about yourself," Nana Ya said. Not small talk, a real question, so Amara told her. Kumasi, Kanust, the study permit, the radiator that barely worked, the spreadsheet, Efua wanting to study architecture, the licensing exams. The Sunday evenings with Ola, the ground nut soup, all of it, more than she had planned to say, because there was something in the way Nana Ya listened, fully, with her whole attention, that made you want to be honest. Nana Ya listened without interrupting. When Amara finished, she was quiet for a moment. "My first year in Toronto," she said. "I worked 2 jobs. Mornings I cleaned offices downtown. Evenings I stocked shelves at a grocery store in Etobicoke. My English was good, but my accent made people speak to me slowly, the way people do when they think you might be confused. I was not confused. I was tired, but not confused." She looked at her coffee cup. "I started my first pharmacy, not a chain, just a counter in a strip mall in Scarborough, because I believe that a pharmacy should know the people it served, that it should be a place where someone from Ghana or Jamaica or the Philippines could walk in and be spoken to like a person, not a patient file. She looked up. I have 9 locations now. The culture of each one lives or dies by the people behind the counter. Amara was very still. I've been watching this industry for 26 years, Nanaya continued. I've seen people with exceptional credentials who couldn't be trusted with a difficult customer. I've seen people with modest credentials who were worth more than any degree could explain. She picked up her coffee. What I saw you do last Tuesday, that was not a small thing. I want you to understand that. She needed her medication, Amara said quietly. Yes, and 100 other people would have watched her walk out without it, or would have announced her problem to the room, or would have waited for a manager. Nana Ya set her cup down. You didn't calculate. You didn't hesitate. You just gave. Amara looked at the table. Her throat felt tight. I need a pharmacy manager for my Scarborough location, Nana Ya said. It's a step up from your current role. You'd need your full licensing, which I assess you're working toward. I'd like to sponsor the remainder of your exam prep costs and your licensing fees. In exchange, you commit to a 2-year contract once you're licensed. The salary during your remaining prep period would be higher than what you're making now. You would continue working, just with us. Amara looked up. Why? Because you have the credentials. And you have the character. The first one I can help with. The second one nobody can teach. Nana Ya looked at her evenly. The hand that gives, Amara. In my experience, it always receives. Amara's eyes were full. She pressed her lips together. She did not want to cry in the Ma Cafe on a Wednesday morning, but she was losing that particular battle. My mother says something like that, she managed. Almost exactly. Our mothers know, Nana Ya said simply. They talked for another 2 hours. By the time Amara left for her shift, the coffee was cold, and the cafe had filled with the noon crowd, and Amara walked down Eglinton in the thin October sun, feeling like the ground under her feet was different. Not easier, just different. Solid in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. She texted Ifua that evening. I have something to tell you when we talk on Sunday. Something good. Ifua texted back 3 seconds later. Amara Watamara smiled at her phone. She put it face down on the table and went back to her exam prep. Now, the video. By the time Amara formally accepted Nana Ya's offer, a Friday afternoon, over the phone, professional and calm. Although she did not feel calm, the clip had been covered by CBC Toronto and been shared by the mayor's communications account with a caption about community spirit, which Amara found deeply embarrassing and deeply Canadian at the same time. The local news had reached out to the Shoppers Drug Mart. Derek, who was constitutionally incapable of not giving an interview, had said on camera, Amara is the most genuine person I've worked with in 15 years of pharmacy. What you saw in that video is just a Tuesday for her. Amara had called him afterward and said, Derek, you're welcome, he said. The clip had been seen, at last count, by just over 800,000 people. Nana Ya had seen it the day it posted. Someone on her team sent it to her before it went wide. She had watched it twice. She had already known what she was going to do before she called Amara. She told Amara that later, at lunch. I had already decided, she said. The video didn't change anything. It just explained why my phone kept ringing. What the video did change was something else. On a Thursday evening, 3 weeks after the pharmacy incident, Amara was finishing her shift when a woman walked in. She stood at the end of the cosmetics aisle for a moment, as if she was deciding something. Then she came to the pharmacy counter. Brielle. She was wearing less makeup than the last time. Her highlights needed a touch-up. She looked smaller, somehow, than she had that Tuesday afternoon. She placed a single item on the counter. The same children's cough syrup from before. She looked at Amara. Amara looked at her. I remember you, Brielle said. Her voice was different. The performance was gone. I remember you too, Amara said. Brielle opened her purse, counted her money with the concentration of someone for whom counting money had recently become necessary again. She had exact change. She laid it on the counter carefully. I owe you $40, she said. No, Amara said. You don't. I want to. You don't. Amara said it gently but clearly. It's done. How is your daughter? Brielle blinked. How did you? The cough syrup. Amara smiled. Children's formula. Brielle looked down at the bottle in her hand. Something in her face broke open a little. She's okay. Just a cold. She's okay. Good, Amara said. Kids bounce back fast. Brielle nodded. She picked up her bag. She stood at the counter for a moment without moving. I am sorry, she said. Not loudly, not for the room. I was awful to you. I was awful to everyone in that line. And you, her voice caught, you were just kind. Amara looked at her for a long moment. We all have bad days, she said. What matters is what we do after. Brielle nodded again, once. Then she left. Amara turned back to her register. Derek had materialized at her elbow again. He had a talent for it. Was that? Yes. He was quiet for a beat. You okay? Fine, Amara said. Who's next? 3 months later, Amara passed her pharmacy licensing exam. Second time she had taken it. The first time, 2 years ago, she had missed by 4 points on one module. A thing that had wrecked her for about a week before she decided to let it make her sharper. This time she was not close. This time she cleared every module cleanly. Nana Ya took her to dinner to celebrate. Not the Ma Cafe this time. A proper restaurant, West African. The kind with real tablecloths and music that made you want to talk about things that mattered. Your father would be proud, Nana Ya said. He is proud, Amara said. He told everyone in Adum. Again, good. Ifua, on a video call that Sunday, said, Sis, pharmacist. I can't believe it. She was grinning so wide her face barely fit the screen. Pharmaceutical manager, Amara corrected. Same thing. Can I tell people? You've already told people. I told like 4 people. Ifua, fine. 7. Amara laughed, the kind that came from somewhere real. She started at the Scarborough location the following Monday. A different pharmacy, a different counter, a different name tag. Amara Ose, pharmacy manager, but the same warm smile. The same way of keeping her voice low when someone was embarrassed. The same habit of looking at the person in front of her like they were worth looking at. Nana Ya had been right about the culture of a pharmacy living and dying by the people behind the counter. Within 2 months, the staff surveys at the Scarborough location had shifted measurably. Within 6 months, the client satisfaction numbers were the highest they'd been in 3 years. Nana Ya did not say I told you so. She just sent Amara a text that read, the numbers don't lie, and Amara laughed at her phone in the middle of a Thursday afternoon. She had her own office now. Modest, a desk, a plant she was trying hard not to kill, a framed photograph of her parents in their yard in a dum, her father squinting in the sun, her mother laughing at something off camera the way she always did. Amara kept the photo where she could see it from her chair. She kept the Nana Ya's business card in her wallet. She kept it because some things you want to be able to touch, to remind yourself that they were real. And the $40. She had tried, once, to give it back to herself through the act of giving it to someone else. A woman at a TTC station who was $3 short for a token. A man outside a Tim Hortons who looked like he needed coffee. More than a conversation. She had stopped counting after a while. Money given in the right moment doesn't need accounting. The small stall with the real nourishment. Sometimes it's a pharmacy counter on a Tuesday. Sometimes it's a corner cafe that smells like cardamom. Sometimes it's a woman who has spent 26 years learning that the hand that gives is the only one worth trusting. A river does not ask permission to find the sea. It just moves, and when the ground is right, it arrives. If this story found you at the right moment, you'll know. Subscribe to Urban African Folktales and turn on your notifications, because every week we have another one. And before you go, have you ever given something you couldn't afford to lose? Tell us in the comments. We read every single one.